Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Unscripted Coding. Today I have set myself up for basically a algorithm challenge. I am just gonna fix this. It's bothering me a bit that there are no margins. I'm gonna try and do my own algorithm challenge. We've done a bunch of leak code problems at this point in time, but I've encountered something in my own project that lends itself very much thinking, how do I solve this step by step? So let me introduce the problem here. I have a number of headings and subheadings. Let me zoom in so you guys can take a better look here. You can see, document 1, this is an H1 header. And then H2 would be this heading. H3 is a subheading. I have staggered this, indented this in a way to make it clear my intention. But basically, I want to give these headings numbers. So in theory, I would work my way down all of the H1 headers and give them 1, 2, 3. So 1, let's just do it. 1, H1. The next one would be 2. Okay, and then the next heading, I would do something like 1.1. And this one would be 1.1.1, which looks like this. Presumably, I'd have text under some of these headings. I'd have paragraphs, spans, charts, images, what have you. But I'm really looking at the H1, H2, H3, all the way to H6 headers and trying to give them numbers. Now, that should be simple enough. You would just go down, loop through, find each of the H1s. The little twist here is the document expansion class that I have. So what does that mean? Well, in my project, what I have are these documents. They're independent documents. And so, for example, I might just get rid of, let's say 1.1.2 here. This is the subheading. This document number 2 is independent. It should start 1.1, 1.1, 1.1.1, 1.2. And see, I can't even do this manually. You are starting from scratch again once you hit document 2. And then once you get out of this independent document, you're just continuing where you left off. Does that make sense? So this is in a div on its own. This document 1, it continues, but I just jammed another document in between. Now, this isn't the greatest way to show this, but let's do a background for these document expansions. So background light. Okay. Let's do one better. Warning. So you can see this is a chunk of its own with its own numbering, and then these kind of continue on as if it was still document 1. Okay, so that is the problem. You can't loop through this easily. I have a bit of code on the side. Let me see if I can find it here. Okay. And let's just hope this works. And let me go back here. So I'm just getting rid of the numbering that we put in manually. But what I did is I have this CSS code with counters. So what happens is at the start of document, you set this variable called h20, and then you use CSS counters to increment it every time you hit a new one. When you hit a document expansion, it goes back to 0. Now, I'm not going to pretend I know what I'm doing. I have, like, CSS is the least favorite thing I want to do. And what I was doing was following a tutorial about how to reset the expansion, and suddenly everything just worked. And so for a little while, I just didn't touch it. Look at this. It just, oh, well, that's disappointing. It's not working. Why is that? Class. Oh, I should call this card body. And let's hope this works now. No, it doesn't. Well, that's awfully embarrassing. But again, I have no clue what I was doing with the CSS anyways. And what happened was I was following a tutorial online, basically figuring out how to exclude things, and then suddenly everything started working. And I just left it at that. But the problem I'm encountering now is I would like to be able to copy this and paste it, say, in a Word document with the numbering, but you can see it's all stripped out. This is just styling. CSS variables, you can't copy and paste it. And so what I want to do is write a bit of JavaScript code or jQuery to actually put in the numbers like so. And let's get rid of all of this and run this again. And here we go. Okay, and so let me show you guys quickly how I hope it'll look like at the end. Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Unscripted Coding. Today I have here in front of me an article by Typora. Basically, it is about CSS counters. You can count elements on CSS and you can kind of display them in different ways. And in this case, it's counting the number of headers. There are H1, H2, H3, H4, H5, H6 HTML headers. And basically it's saying it's counting the number of them and putting it in front of them. This was super helpful for a side project of mine, but I've kind of hit a kind of strange area. And so today is going to look a little bit like those algorithm, what do we call them? Leak code videos where we're going to try and walk through thinking through a generic, simple problem. So let me just introduce the issue here. I have here, and I'll just get this out and run this again. I have here a broken out number of headings, and these are indented all improperly, but it's indented in a way that will make some sense after I talk about it. But what I have here is, of course, H1, H2, H3 headers, and they're called document, heading, and subheadings. And you can kind of see I have a whole bunch of documents, headings, subheadings, all the way down. It's just a demo here. And the goal is to number them properly. Now, what it is I would like, very much like this Typora option, that H1s will get headings of 1, and then when you get to the next H1, it will be 2, and then the next H1 will be 3. Now, the H2 headers will be the second digit, so over here it would be 1.1. But what that means is after an H1 appears, you're going to have, say, 2.1. Okay, does that make sense? Very simple. Here is the twist, though. If I were to use this HTML or this CSS code, the styling code right here, what's going to happen is it's going to look exactly like this. 1.1, 1. Well, let's put it in here, 1.1.2, just to make it very clear how this would look. Okay, and it would obviously go all the way down if we had CSS. But my requirements are a little bit different. What I have here is document expansion, and it is a div to break things out. I'm just going to set a background so you can kind of see it parsed out. What I would like is actually this section is a independent document. So this large div is one document, but I have in here shoved in an entirely different set of text. And what I mean by that is when it's in this page here, it's going to have its own numbering. It's going to start from 1 all over again. And when you escape, when you're out of this section, let me just finish this out. When you're out of this document, what you're going to see is the original document continuing. So it's as if this yellow part isn't here. This subheading just skips all of this, and then it goes from 1.1.2 to 1.1.3, and then so on. The next heading will be 2, and so on and so on. And then you can have an independent document inside another independent document. I have manually put in the numbers in here so you can kind of see how I would expect it to look. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't give the documents their own number. It starts at H2, but that's not so important. So I'm going to do background colors so that it's clear. It's another one, background. Okay, so you'll see this is the white is all document 1. It's 1.1, 1.11, 1.2, and then it skips this to 1.3. 2.2, it skips all of this, goes to 2.3. Now, you can embed another document, document 4, into document 3. So document 3 starts 1, 2, 1, 2, 2.1, 2.2. So it skips this. Document 4 does its own thing. That's the requirement. Okay, so I was actually following this Typora CSS, and I added a tiny twist of my own into the CSS. Now I'm going to say up front, like I have no clue what I'm doing with CSS. I was just reading the Mozilla documentation. I was just reading the Mozilla documentation, and basically what happened is I got lucky. And what I mean by that is I was reading about how to reset the counter. I threw this in, and then suddenly everything worked exactly as I hoped. Document 3 starts from 1 again. Document 4 starts from 1. Everything worked perfectly. So I left it alone for a while, but you'll see very quickly what my issue is. When I copy and paste, and say I do this in Word, but let's do it on the side, like Microsoft Word. Let's do it on the side. The numbers don't carry over. And so I'm looking for a very specific solution here, which is to actually add it into the text here as we did before. You can't do that with CSS. When you use the counters, you can make it look really good. It looks fantastic here, but ultimately you are not going to be able to manipulate it the same way as if it was a text. And so what that means is we're gonna have to walk through how do we do this? And the one way I can think of is you have to write JavaScript or jQuery code. You're gonna have to loop through and figure out. You're gonna have to count. How many H1s have you done? How many H2s have you seen? Break out the classes. I was looking at this last night trying to figure it out, and I realized I didn't have enough sleep to try and figure it out. I was so mad that the CSS solution didn't work, and immediately I ran into, well, let's think about this really quickly. If you count the H1s just down the list, you're going to do it the classic way. You're not going to have the reset every time a document expansion happens. The other issue is if you start this way, it just moves down the list one at a time. And I actually have, I think, very useful code here. Let me see if I can find it. Okay, so I swear I will get on with the video soon. But what I wanted to do is just to run this to show you guys what happens. If I do a query selection for all of these headers, what you're going to see, don't worry about the code, just watch this section. You're going to see that it just goes down one at a time. 1, 2, 3, 4. It just goes down the list all the way down. And so what you have to do is figure out the best way to traverse the list to keep track of it. Do you need to figure out, okay, every time I see a document expansion, I got to log another variable. How do you keep track of that? And so last night when I was thinking about it, I just didn't want to think about it. And then I figured, you know what, this would make kind of an interesting video. So I'm going to stop talking and see what code we can write. Okay, so time to check in really quick. We got a very trivial kind of loop going here so that we haven't done the whole separate independent document thing. We're just going down the list with counting the H1s and H2s. So what we've done is we run this number headings function at the very end. I've limited to the scope of this div, but you can run it however you want. We initialize the counter, and basically we asked it to find all H1s, H2s, H3s, H4s, H5s, and H6. And for each one, we go through a switch case loop. So for each one, and we remember that demonstration, it just goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We're just going to look and see if it's an H1, we're going to increase the counter by 1, so from 0 to 1, and we're going to reset everything, because once we hit 2, all of the following numbers, this one and these two, all get reset. So it'll come back to 1. So we reset all of these counters, and then we just print it out. We switch the text, append this in front, and then we move on. Same thing happens all the way down here. If we have if we hit H2, obviously we don't mess with the H1 counter, but we reset all of the following ones and do the same thing. We do this for every single type of element, run the function, and boom, you have exactly what you wanted. I realize right now that our solution didn't want the H1 to be listed. So I think all I have to do is comment it out. Yeah, there we go. Okay, let's... Oh, that does not work. I'd have to remove this H1 counter from each piece, but I'm not going to do that. Let's keep it going this way first, and we'll see where we go. My thinking right now is this has to be recursive. And to show you how much of an obsession this is what I think about before I go to sleep. When I finally, I'm ready to fall asleep, I think about these things. So letting a problem sit in your mind is always a good thing. I realize this is classic recursion, and what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to do everything in those sub-documents first. So what I'm going to do is find and see if we have one of these document expansion divs. If we do, we're going to break it out and run number headings on there. But what's really important is we got to note within these H1s, we'll have to add some sort of value or some sort of tag or class or something to say it's being checked and something's being appended. Because the worst thing you can do is have something like 1.1 space 2.1 space 3.1, like very confusing because you've appended several times. So what you're going to do is somehow make a marker in the H2. I think a class will do it, saying checked. And if it's checked, we will ignore it over here. So that's a good reason why I put the element in here first. And we are done. If I run this, you'll see that none of these headings have the right number. If I run it, all of these numbers are appended because it doesn't exist in the code. And then you can see that they continue properly. This document 2 has a fresh set of numbers starting at 1. And I kind of wish I didn't have H1 in here. But regardless, we have 1.1.2, and then it does all of these numbers, and then it goes 1.1.3. And 1.2.2 goes down to 1.2.3. And you can see the document 3 is the same thing. 1.2.1 goes to 1.2.2. So all of the numbers are looking very, very good. I love it when recursion works because it doesn't work at all. Nothing works. And then once it does, it just magically snaps together. Let's walk through what we did, and then I will mention one kind of weakness that I noticed that has a very simple fix, but I'm just too lazy to do it. Let's go down here. We did the same thing. We have the counters go all the way down. We're doing the same switch case. But what's important is we have this number headings. So what we're doing is adding a property here going number headings equals complete. I chose this because nobody in their right minds would use an attribute like this. So you're not going to clash with something you might use, like, I don't know, color, background, whatever you want to call it. So it's long, it's tedious specifically because no one will use it. And what happens is if I have one of these tags, it's going to skip through it. And every time I actually append something, I add that attribute right into that element. This is really, really key because all we've done is add this little bit of recursion right here. If we find a sub-document, so say this one right here, we're going to do this number headings first on it. And so what's going to happen is it's going to number this first 1, 1.1, 1.11, 1.2, 1.21. Okay? And because each one is going to have a tag like this, the next time we run this large document, it's going to number these and then skip anything that is within this document. Now this works recursively. So before we do anything, we start with the document. The first step is see if there is a document expansion. We'll deal with this one first. Next is it's going to see this one, this document 3 with a document 4 embedded into it. What it's then going to do is it's going to run that on document 3. And then it too, in document 3, will check if there's another document within that document. And so it'll find this one, and it'll finally do this one first, then complete this, and then finally complete this section. Okay, I added these background colors just to make it easy to see. But the very last step we did was I found everything in document with number headings complete, and I've just removed that attribute just to clean it up. Now, what I realize right now is the weakness to this, and it's not really a weakness, it's an oversight, is that I'm replacing the text. So for example, this one, I see document 1, I'm just going to have 1.document1. And replace the text that way. The problem here is if I have any sort of formatting, so italics, emphasis, strong text, okay, once I run it, it's not strong anymore. It's not, so let's add it up here so you can see how it should look like. It's not bolded anymore. And that's because it just takes the text and it strips everything out. Really simple solution. I think what I do and what I should be doing is just appending a span. So in H1, I'm going to append a span that says 1.1 or 1. And that's all you need to do. Instead of doing this weird text thing, I don't know why I did this, we append a span So let me show you how that would look. Append and text, and what do I want in that text? Here. I sure hope this works. What did I do here? Okay, you know what? I'm just gonna ignore this, but the idea is you want to just add something to the front here, add an extra element. I think I might have to go to the child or the parent to try and do this. The fact that I have 3 increasing sized ones really baffles me. But yeah, that is something you should address if you do have documents that are formatted differently. I didn't think about this because it's not going to appear in my use case. There's not going to be links. There's not going to be strong or emphasized text. So, who cares? Okay. Okay. You know what? Let's try that again. Maybe it's because I had an existing span. You know what? No, it's not worth it. I had an existing span in here already, so it's probably fiddling something odd. Oh, I should be prepending, not appending. Yes. Ignore all of that. That's just rambling. I hope you enjoyed this. CSS is not the only way you can go about getting these documents numbered. This is one way to very manually but programmatically do it. And the final result is that if I copy and paste this on the side somewhere, I have all the numbers. Isn't that great? Excellent. So if you enjoyed this video, do let me know. If not, thumbs down, whatever you have to do, but let me know. I'm always looking to try and do more interesting videos. This one is more algorithmic, but it actually has a real life application, which I am going to use right after this video. I'm going to port this over to my project and make it work. So thanks for watching. See you guys next week.